They say time heals, my friends, but that's not true. Time doesn't heal what you keep feeding with thoughts. You keep reopening the same wound, scrolling through memories like a highlight reel of what you lost. Every night you whisper, "They'll come back." Every morning you check your phone like it's a slot machine that might finally land on their name. You've been taught that waiting is loyalty, that patience means love, but that's one of the biggest lies ever sold. Waiting doesn't bring people back. Waiting keeps you stuck in the same emotional quicksand while they walk away, pretending they've moved on. Let me tell you something simple but hard to swallow. People don't forget you when you let go. They forget you when you keep chasing. When someone knows you're still out there orbiting around them, they don't need to think about you. But the moment you pull away, that's when the silence starts screaming in their mind. It's when your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. It's like taking oxygen from a flame. When you stop feeding it, that's when it burns, to remember how it once felt to be lit by you. You've been trained to believe that love equals effort, that the one who fights the hardest wins. But real strength isn't in chasing, it's in control. It's in walking away with calm eyes and a quiet heart while they expect you to fall apart. When you detach, you don't lose power, you reclaim it. The person who once looked down on you will eventually look back, not because of guilt, but because curiosity never dies where mystery begins. The truth is, detachment is not indifference. It's mastery. It's saying, you don't get to live rent-free in my peace anymore. And here's the twist, folks. The moment you stop waiting, you start glowing differently. You move differently. You speak from calm instead of pain. And that shift, that invisible energy, travels. They feel it. They might not say it, but they sense it in your absence. You used to chase them, now your silence does. You used to explain yourself, now your peace speaks louder. People always come back to what feels rare. And nothing's rarer than someone who once cared deeply and now walks in quiet confidence like they never needed to. So let them miss you. Let them replay the moments they once took for granted. You don't have to post a revenge glow-up or fake happiness. Real power is invisible. It's the peace that confuses them, the silence that humbles them, the calm that haunts them. Remember this. The one who moves on with stillness always wins in the long run, because eventually everyone circles back to the energy that once gave them warmth when the world turns cold again. So, if you're watching this right now, hear me clearly. Stop waiting. Stop chasing. Stop checking your phone for a message that isn't coming, because when you finally stop caring, that's when they'll come searching. Don't let your heart be a waiting room for people who walked out on you. Be the lesson they'll never forget. Now listen to me, my friends. Don't just sit there nodding. Do something about it. Prove to yourself that you're not the same person who keeps waiting for validation that never comes. Every time you comment, you're not just typing words. You're declaring war on your old self. You're saying, I'm done begging for attention that I deserve by default. So type this right now, in all caps if you have to. My silence is power. Because that's what it is. Not avoidance, not ego, but power. The kind that makes the world lean in when you finally stop explaining yourself. Let that sentence be your armor. Every time your mind starts wandering back to what if, and maybe someday, read those 4 words again. Write them, own them, live them. And if what I said just lit a spark in you, if you felt something shift deep in your chest, don't scroll past it. Press that like button as a promise to yourself. Subscribe because you're done surviving and ready to rise calm, unbothered, and untouchable. Stay with me, folks, because your peace isn't just healing you, it's haunting the people who thought they could break you. Number 1. The psychological hook. Why chasing repels. Most people think chasing is romantic. They think persistence means love, devotion, and loyalty. But here's the uncomfortable truth, my friends. Chasing isn't love. It's fear wearing perfume. It's the desperate attempt to prove your worth to someone who's already decided to look away. You think that if you just try harder, they'll finally see you. You think effort will melt the wall they built. But human psychology doesn't work that way. The harder you chase, the faster they run. What looks like love to you registers as pressure to them, and no one wants to be cornered by affection they didn't ask for. The mind is strange. When something is easily available, it loses its sparkle. It's the same reason people take sunlight for granted until the clouds come. You were their sunlight, always there, always shining, Tato. And they got used to it. They started assuming it would never leave. Then one day, you finally dimmed your light, and suddenly they're squinting into the darkness, wondering where the warmth went. That's the irony of attachment. People don't miss you when you're around. They miss you when your presence becomes a memory they can't recreate. You might say, but if I stop reaching out, won't they forget me? That's the fear talking. And fear never led anyone to self-respect. People don't forget energy that once gave them comfort. They forget noise, not peace. They forget chaos, not calm. And right now, your energy is worth more than begging for attention from someone who doesn't know its value yet. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." The same applies here. The more you push toward someone, the more they resist you. The more you release, the more the balance resets. It's hard, I know. Every part of you wants to text them, to remind them that you exist. It feels unnatural to stay silent when your heart is screaming for closure. But you must remember, silence doesn't mean defeat. It's strategy. It's emotional aikido. You're not ignoring them. You're redirecting your energy back to yourself. You're breaking the invisible chain that kept you dependent on their reaction. That's what Stoicism is about. Mastering your own impulses instead of being mastered by them. The moment you stop chasing, a shift happens. They notice. Maybe not instantly, but the silence will echo. They'll start to wonder, wait, where did that energy go? Did I lose them? Did someone else catch their attention? Curiosity, once dead, wakes up like a beast that can't stand not knowing, because people are addicted to being wanted, and when you no longer serve that addiction, their ego panics. They start replaying memories, overanalyzing moments they once ignored. That's not coincidence. That's their subconscious craving the validation they used to get from your attention. You see, when you chase, you hand them a mirror that says, "You are worth more than me." When you walk away, you flip that mirror back toward yourself. Suddenly, you're the mystery again. And mystery is magnetic. People are drawn to what they can't fully grasp. Your absence becomes art. Your silence becomes the sound they can't stop hearing. That's how the human mind works. It obsesses over closed doors, not open ones. Still, it's not easy to step back. Detachment feels like emotional withdrawal. You'll feel the urge to break your silence, to reach out just to check in. But remind yourself, the longer you hold your ground, the stronger your value becomes. You're not abandoning love. You're just no longer performing for it. You're giving them a chance to feel your absence, to experience what life actually feels like without your energy holding it up. Because if they never feel the loss, they'll never learn the value. Think about a child who always has candy. They never appreciate it until it's taken away. Adults are no different. The heart doesn't understand luxury until it's gone. You were their emotional luxury, constant reassurance, attention, and effort. Take that away, and the silence becomes their teacher. Every unread message from you would have kept them comfortable, but now every lack of message makes them restless. They start thinking, did I make a mistake? Were they really over me? Why aren't they trying anymore? That's when the hook sets in. You're not punishing them by walking away, you're restoring balance. Every time you stop chasing, you tell the universe, I know my worth. And the universe responds by making others recognize it too. This isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about shifting from obsession to alignment. You're no longer begging for something uncertain. You're attracting what's meant to stay. So, my friends, understand this. The one who chases loses control. The one who steps back gains it. The one who keeps reaching becomes predictable. The one who moves in silence becomes unforgettable. That's how it works. Not because of magic, but because human desire is wired to chase what it cannot fully claim. You were the giver before. Now it's their turn to wonder, to chase, to question what happened to the calm soul they thought they could replace. And if this feels difficult, good. Growth always feels wrong at first. Your silence will test your strength, your patience, and your ego. But when the storm inside you settles, that's when you'll realize the truth. You never needed them to see your worth. You just needed to stop trying to prove it. So as you listen to this, take a deep breath and let this thought sink in. You are not losing them. You are finding yourself. You're not being cold. You're being wise. You're not walking away. You're walking up. Type this in the comments right now. I attract by peace, not pursuit. Let that be your mantra. Write it, remember it, live it. Because the day you stop chasing is the day they start looking back. Number 2. Silence is a mirror. They can't escape. Silence isn't empty, my friends. It's a message written in invisible ink. You don't need to send another text or explain how you feel for the 100th time. Your quiet is saying everything they refuse to hear. Silence is the mirror that shows people who they really are when they can't hide behind noise anymore. When you stop speaking, they're forced to listen to the echo of everything they did wrong. That's why it hurts them more than arguments ever could. Because silence holds them accountable in ways words never can. Every time you hold back from reaching out, you think you're doing nothing. But in truth, you're creating distance that demands reflection. Think of it like pulling your hand away from fire. The moment you do, the flame flickers, confused, searching for what it used to feed on. That's what your silence does to their ego. They got addicted to your attention, your replies, your emotional availability. Now that it's gone, they're going through withdrawal. Every message you don't send becomes a ghost in their head. Every quiet day becomes a question they can't answer. Why aren't they chasing me anymore? Humans are wired to crave closure, and silence is the one thing that denies it. It leaves a door half open, a story half told. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. Our minds remember unfinished emotional experiences more intensely than resolved ones. You've become their unfinished chapter, the one they keep rereading in their head, wondering how it could have ended differently. That's the irony. You said less, but now they're hearing you everywhere. In songs, in silence, in every person who fails to match your energy. Silence, when used wisely, isn't avoidance. It's mastery. It's the highest form of self-control, choosing not to react when you easily could. Most people respond to pain with noise. They text, argue, overshare, beg to be understood. But Stoicism teaches something else, that strength lies in restraint. The loudest person is rarely the strongest. It's the one who can stay calm while the other one drowns in their own noise. That's real power. The ability to sit with your emotions without letting them drag you into chaos. And make no mistake, they feel it. They might pretend not to care, but silence has a way of creeping into quiet moments. It visits them when they're driving, when they scroll late at night, when they see your name. They swore, they deleted. They remember the peace you brought, the certainty, the way you understood without needing words. And suddenly, that peace becomes haunting. Because it's gone. Because it's rare. Because the world outside your silence is noisy, shallow, and transactional. You were real, and now they're left with echoes. You'll be tempted to break that silence, to send something small, something harmless. Don't. Every time you stay quiet, you're turning their comfort into confusion. You're teaching them that access to you was a privilege, not a right. You're shifting from being an option to becoming the one that got away. Remember, silence isn't passive, it's active energy. It's the sound of power reorganizing itself inside you. Some of you might wonder, but what if they never reach out again? Then that's your answer. They were never meant to stay. Silence doesn't lose the right ones. It only exposes the wrong ones. The right person will feel the emptiness of your absence and return with respect. The wrong one will escape into distractions, proving they never had the depth to match you in the first place. Either way, you win, because silence gives you clarity that words never could. So hold the line. Let your quiet do the talking. While they chase noise, you'll be mastering peace. While they fill their world with replacements, you'll be building a life that doesn't need validation. That's what true freedom looks like. You don't have to prove your worth. Your calm already does. Write this in the comments, my friends. My silence speaks volumes. Let it be your reminder that every moment you don't react, you rise higher. Because silence isn't weakness, it's self-respect in its purest form. And one day, they'll hear it loud and clear. Number 3. The control reversal. You became the one they need. Here's the funny thing about control. The moment you stop trying to grab it, you somehow get it all back. You used to chase, overthink, and overgive. You thought love meant proving yourself over and over until they finally saw your worth. But here's what psychology and a little bit of stoic wisdom both agree on. Power always shifts toward the one who needs less. When you stop waiting for their validation, something flips. The game changes. Suddenly, you're not the admirer anymore. You become the mystery. The quiet question mark they can't stop thinking about. You see, folks, people get comfortable when they know they're wanted. It's human nature. When someone knows they have a safety net, they stop fearing the fall. You were their emotional safety net, always there, always replying, always ready to forgive. They had comfort. But comfort kills curiosity. The moment you stopped waiting, that comfort turned cold, and curiosity rushed back in to take its place. They started wondering where you went, what changed, and why their reflection no longer showed up in your eyes. Let me paint it for you. Imagine a cat. When you chase it, it runs. But the second you stop, sit still, and ignore it, it creeps back, suspicious and intrigued. Humans work the same way. We crave what confuses us. Predictability makes people blind. Unpredictability makes them obsessed. When you were waiting, you were predictable, emotionally available, always reachable, always ready. When you stopped waiting, you became unpredictable, and that unpredictability rewired their attention. They used to feel powerful, now they feel unsure. And that's the reversal. Maybe you've noticed it already. They're acting strange, watching your stories again, asking around about you, pretending not to care while still orbiting your world. That's not coincidence. That's control, shifting back into your hands. The human brain hates uncertainty, and now you've become the uncertainty they can't solve. They can't predict your next move because you stopped moving toward them. You're calm now, unbothered, detached. And that silence of yours, it's driving them mad. Some of you might ask, but why does it have to be this way? Why can't love just be simple? Because humans don't chase what's easy. The mind doesn't crave peace until chaos leaves. They never valued you because they never feared losing you. And fear, whether we like it or not, creates value. That's not manipulation, that's psychology. People desire what they can't fully have. You were once the open book they never finished reading. Now you've closed the cover and walked away, and they're realizing they never memorized the pages. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." You've transformed, my friend. You went from a seeker to a keeper of peace, from waiting to walking, from chasing to attracting. That's why they feel off balance. You've changed your emotional chemistry, and now they have to adjust to it. They used to be the prize. Now you are. They used to be the center. Now you are the gravity, pulling everything back in without effort. And it's not about ego. It's about equilibrium. When you were chasing, you were in chaos. Now you're in control, not of them, but of yourself. That's the real shift. You've stopped trying to bend their will and started mastering your own. You're no longer waiting for the universe to reward your pain. You are the reward. You've evolved into someone who doesn't beg to be understood. You've become the calm that makes others question their storm. They might not tell you they miss you, but they feel it. They feel it when their new distractions don't hit the same. They feel it when no one else makes them feel safe the way your silence does. You've become the standard. And the standard is always missed once it's gone. So don't go back to waiting. Keep walking forward, calm and sure. You're not punishing them. You're just finally realizing you were never the one in need. They were. They still are. You've become the peace they can't recreate, the mystery they can't solve, the calm they can't compete with. That's real control. Not forcing anyone to come back, but knowing they eventually will. Type this in the comments, my friends. I am the calm they crave. Let it remind you every day, you didn't lose power when you stopped waiting, you reclaimed it. Number 4. Detachment, the weapon they never saw coming. Detachment isn't cruelty, my friends, it's clarity. It's the quiet moment when you finally stop trying to fix what broke itself. People think detachment means shutting off your emotions, but that's not true. It means mastering them. It's emotional discipline, choosing peace over chaos, calm over validation, stillness over constant noise. It's standing in the middle of everything that once triggered you and saying, "No, you don't get to rent space in my mind anymore." That right there is the first real taste of freedom. You see, detachment is not running away from love. It's running back to yourself. It's pulling your energy out of places that never grew anything for you. And it's funny how once you do that, everything shifts. The universe starts rearranging itself. Suddenly, the people who once ignored you begin to notice you again. The ones who took you for granted start to remember your worth. Because when you finally stop chasing energy that doesn't return, that energy turns inward and it glows. Think of it like a candle that's been burning for someone else's comfort. You kept lighting their world while they let yours fade. Detachment is when you take that flame back. You stop wasting your warmth on people who never stood close enough to feel it properly. At first, it feels cold, even lonely. You'll have moments when you miss them, when silence feels heavy. But that's not loneliness. That's detox. You're unlearning the addiction of needing someone who never truly gave back. And here's the part they never saw coming. They thought your love was endless. They thought no matter what they did, you'd always be there, available, forgiving, loyal to the pain they gave you. But detachment flips the script. Suddenly, you're not angry, you're not hurt, you're calm. And nothing terrifies someone with control issues more than calm. Because your silence says, I've outgrown this. Your peace says, I'm not your supply anymore. And when they can't trigger you, they lose their power over you entirely. Psychology backs this up. When someone realizes they no longer have emotional influence, it destabilizes them. They start reaching for you again, testing to see if the connection still exists. They might send random messages, fake check-ins, or posts meant to pull your attention, but you don't bite. That's what detachment looks like. Not reacting, not proving anything, just existing in your own stillness while they scramble to find the version of you they used to control. This is where stoicism lives. It's in the art of staying centered when others lose balance. Detachment is not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's saying, my emotions are mine to command, not yours to manipulate. And in a world where everyone is addicted to attention, silence becomes the sharpest weapon of all. They'll feel it like gravity. The more you pull away, the more they're drawn back in. Because peace, when genuine, becomes magnetic. People want to be around what doesn't need them. The universe loves balance, my friends. When you stop forcing things, life naturally starts working in your favor. You were never meant to beg for connection. You were meant to attract it effortlessly by being whole. And once you detach, that's exactly what happens. The people who drained you will come crawling back, not because they suddenly changed, but because they crave the peace they once disturbed. They'll want a sip of the stillness you now live in. But this time, you'll guard it. You'll smile, stay kind, and keep your peace private. You don't have to prove that you've moved on. Your calm will speak it for you. Detachment doesn't say, I don't care. It says, I care too much about myself to keep trying to fix what doesn't want to heal. That's power. That's growth. That's liberation. Type this in the comments right now. My peace is my power. Let it be your daily reminder that walking away wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Because once you detach, you don't lose people. You simply lose your need to be understood by them. And that's when you finally win. Number 5. The psychology of regret. Why they always miss you later. Rejection feels like power in the moment, my friends. It gives the other person a temporary illusion that they've won, that walking away from you somehow puts them above you. But time has a funny way of humbling people, because rejection is quick, but regret is patient. It waits. It doesn't strike right away. It comes crawling in quietly when the silence gets too loud and the comparisons start piling up. That's when their mind begins to betray their pride. That's when they start realizing they didn't replace you. They just downgraded peace for distraction. You see, the human brain is wired to compare. It's psychological. When someone walks away, they think the next person will be better, more exciting, more compatible. But what they forget is that their memory of you isn't built on logic. It's built on emotion. Every laugh, every late-night talk, every small comfort you gave them became a neural pathway in their brain. You were a habit, one rooted deep in their dopamine system, and when that habit ends, They don't just move on. Their brain starts craving the emotional chemistry you created. That's what regret really is. Withdrawal from a connection that once made them feel safe. At first, they'll distract themselves. New faces, new places, new attention. They'll tell themselves they're happier, freer, lighter. But give it time. Every new conversation will feel slightly hollow. Every laugh will sound slightly forced. Every good morning text from someone else will lack the warmth they once felt with you, because what they're really missing isn't you as a person. It's how they felt when they were with you. And that, my friends, can't be replaced. Regret always arrives late, but it always arrives. It sneaks in when they least expect it, when a random song plays, when they drive past somewhere you both used to go, when a scent reminds them of your presence. That's the thing about emotional connections. They don't disappear just because someone acts indifferent. They bury themselves deep in the subconscious and resurface when the ego finally quiets down. That's when the realization hits. No one else feels like them. You became their contrast. You became the standard by which they now measure everyone else. And when the world fails to match it, which it always does, regret kicks in. Regret is triggered by contrast, and contrast is born from silence. When you disappeared, you didn't just leave physically, you left mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They thought your absence would be temporary. They thought you'd come running back like before. But when you didn't, their mind turned your silence into a mirror. And in that mirror, they saw everything they threw away. It's a strange twist of fate. Your calm now becomes their chaos. The peace you built becomes the punishment they didn't see coming. They'll scroll through your page, trying to decode your smile, trying to guess if someone else is making you laugh like they used to. They'll rewatch your stories just to feel a trace of what they lost. They might even try to come back casually, testing the waters, pretending it's just small talk. But it's not. It's regret in disguise. And that's the irony, isn't it? The same person who once made you doubt your worth now questions their own. Because while you were healing, they were avoiding. While you were growing, they were running. But no one outruns regret forever. It catches up when life slows down, when the noise fades, and when their next something better turns out to be an echo of what you already gave them effortlessly. So don't wait for their apology or their return. Just know they will feel it. Maybe not now, but when their distractions stop working, when they realize that peace is rare, loyalty is priceless, and real connection doesn't come twice, that's when your absence will haunt them more than your presence ever did. Type this in the comments right now. I am unforgettable, because that's exactly what you are. You didn't lose them, they lost the one soul who truly saw them, and regret will make sure they never forget it. Number 6. How emotional detachment sparks intrigue. People crave predictability, my friends. They want to know that the same person will always answer, always care, always be available when they decide to come back. But emotional detachment shatters that illusion. When you pull away, you stop being predictable, and that unpredictability becomes magnetic. They can't figure you out anymore. You're no longer the one they could read like an open book. You've become the unread chapter that keeps them up at night, wondering what changed. You see, emotional detachment is not about pretending not to care. It's about no longer needing to prove that you do. It's the energy shift that happens when you stop reacting. You're not cold, you're controlled. You're not distant, you're dignified. That balance between warmth and mystery is what sparks intrigue. They start asking themselves questions they never bothered to before. Did they move on? Are they seeing someone new? Do they still think about me? That's when the curiosity starts burning, and that's how attraction quietly returns. Humans are addicted to uncertainty. Our brains are wired to seek what feels unresolved. When they don't know what's going on with you anymore, they start overthinking, and ironically, that's when they think about you the most. Before, you were predictable. They knew exactly how you'd respond, what you'd say, and that no matter how badly they treated you, you'd still be there. But now, you've gone still. You've stopped chasing. You've stopped showing emotion. You've stopped feeding their ego, and that silence creates a psychological tension they can't ignore. It's like a TV series that suddenly cuts to black mid-season. They were comfortable watching your emotional responses, your anger, your affection, your vulnerability. It made them feel in control, like they were the director of your story. But now that you've detached, the screen went dark. The story's still running, but they're not part of it anymore. And nothing frustrates the human ego more than not knowing how the story ends. Emotional detachment makes you unpredictable because it removes their certainty of your love. You stop rewarding their bad behavior with forgiveness. You stop responding to their absence with attention. And without realizing it, you flip the entire dynamic. They used to measure your worth by your reactions. Now they're left staring into the void of your silence, trying to decode a version of you they no longer understand. Here's where the Stoic wisdom comes in. Control doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means mastering its direction. You can still love, still care, still feel deeply, but you choose where to place that energy. You no longer hand it out like charity. You protect it, and that protection radiates power. People feel it. They might not say it, but they sense when your energy no longer needs validation. That's when they start missing you for real. Not the desperate version, but the grounded one who learned peace. And the irony, they'll start reaching out, not because they suddenly love you more, but because they need to know if you're still accessible. They'll test the waters, send a hey, or post something they know you'll see. It's not affection, it's insecurity. They're not used to you being unavailable. Your emotional detachment breaks their rhythm, and humans hate losing rhythm. That's why they come back. That's why they start paying attention again. But here's what you must remember. Your silence is not a strategy, it's a statement. You're no longer performing to keep their interest. You're letting your peace do the talking. And that peace, that inner calm, that emotional control, is exactly what makes you unforgettable. People chase what they can't fully predict, and you finally become the mystery they can't decode. So stay detached, stay grounded, stay still. Let them wonder, let them question, let them feel the absence they once ignored, because nothing draws someone in like realizing the door they used to walk through is now locked, and the person behind it has found peace. Type this in the comments right now. My calm creates curiosity, because it does. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's gravity, and sooner or later, everything that once took you for granted will feel its pull. Number 7. They're still watching, and you know it. Don't be fooled by the quiet, my friends. Silence doesn't mean they've forgotten you. It means they're watching you from the shadows. The same person who once acted unbothered, who swore they were done, is now studying your every move like a detective who's lost the case file. They scroll through your profile at 2 a.m., not to see your updates, but to feel something familiar again. They're not looking for information. They're looking for reassurance, the reassurance that you still care, that you still hurt, that they still matter. But here's the twist. You've outgrown the need to prove any of that. And that's what's driving them insane. You've become a paradox they can't solve. Your calm confuses them. Your silence irritates them. Your peace provokes them. They see you smiling, healing, maybe even glowing, and they can't stand not knowing if it's real. Because, deep down, they hoped your world would fall apart without them. They thought their absence would break you, but instead, it built you. You became grounded, focused, untouchable, and that's when curiosity turned into obsession. They're lurking, folks, not because they still love you, but because they don't understand how you stopped needing them. Their ego needs closure, and you've denied it. They're checking who likes your posts, who comments, who you follow, trying to decode clues that don't exist. They'll play it off, act casual, act indifferent, but behind that mask is a mind running wild with what-ifs. What if they moved on? What if someone else loves them now? What if they never needed me in the first place? That's the haunting part. They're now feeling every ounce of uncertainty you used to drown in. Remember, people are addicted to emotional control. When they had yours, they felt powerful. When you took it back, they lost their balance. Now they're replaying your last conversations, analyzing your posts, and searching for meaning in your silence. It's funny how the one who left now feels left behind. The one who told you to move on is now the one stuck wondering if you already did. That's karma in its quietest form. No revenge, no words, just peace that makes them restless. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's exactly what's happening to them. They're being directed by their own guilt, their own curiosity, their own unhealed parts. They can't face why they're still watching you, so they pretend it's nothing. But you and I both know, when someone spends this much energy keeping tabs, it's never nothing. It's denial dressed as indifference. And here's where you win without trying. You don't chase. You don't post to provoke. You don't need to prove anything. You just live. You let your peace do the talking. Because nothing stings more than realizing the person you underestimated doesn't need you anymore. They're watching because your detachment made you unpredictable. They're watching because your silence became their mirror. They're watching because, for the first time, they're realizing they lost something real. They'll never admit it out loud, but they miss the way your energy used to feel. They miss the comfort, the validation, the warmth, but they'll keep it buried behind a mask of pride. They'll watch every new version of you unfold, hoping to see a trace of the old you, the one who cared too much. But that version is gone. You've evolved, and they're stuck watching reruns of a show that ended without warning. So let them watch. Let them over-analyze your calm. Let them feel the silence they once forced on you. You owe them nothing, not closure, not access, not explanation. Because the truth is, the moment they started observing instead of appreciating, they became spectators in a story they used to star in. Type this in the comments right now. They watch, I rise. Because they will. They'll keep watching. But you'll keep rising, quietly, confidently, and far beyond their reach. Number 8. The comeback when you finally stop waiting. Here's the paradox, my friends. They always come back when you finally stop waiting for them to. Not when you're pretending to move on, not when you're playing games, but when you actually let go. When your peace becomes louder than your pain. When your silence stops being a tactic and turns into a lifestyle. That's when the shift happens, not in them, but in you. Because the universe mirrors what you believe you deserve. When you stop radiating desperation, your energy transforms from chasing to attracting. And that energy, that calm certainty, pulls everything back that once ran away. They always thought you'd stay waiting, didn't they? They thought they could take their time, explore their options, come back when it was convenient. But time has a way of exposing truth. The person they left behind doesn't exist anymore. You've evolved into someone they can't predict, someone they can't manipulate, someone whose silence feels like power rather than pain. That evolution is what triggers their return, not guilt, not nostalgia, but the unbearable realization that they no longer have access to the version of you they took for granted. When you stop waiting, your entire presence changes. Your energy shifts from, "I hope they notice me," to, "I'm fine either way." And that shift is magnetic. They can feel it, even if you never speak again. It's the same way you can sense when someone has healed. There's a stillness in their energy that demands respect. You've become that stillness. You've become the calm they once mocked, but now crave. And ironically, your detachment creates the very attraction you're chasing once killed. Think of it like this. When you stop running after the train that left, you realize the station isn't empty. There's another train coming, one that's actually meant for you. That's how life works. The moment you stop clinging to what rejected you, new doors open. But funny enough, that's exactly when the old one starts knocking again. Because your peace becomes their punishment. Your glow becomes their reminder. Your silence becomes their haunting. They'll come back with stories. "I've been thinking about you. I made mistakes. I miss the old times." And maybe part of you will feel that familiar pull, that rush of old emotion. But this time, you won't respond the same. You'll listen, but you'll stay calm. You'll remember that they're not drawn to your pain anymore. They're drawn to your peace. They're not coming back because they changed. They're coming back because you did. You stopped giving them the energy that once fueled their ego, and now they want a taste of the calm they thought they could destroy. But here's where the true power lies. You don't need them to come back. That's the real victory. You no longer crave their apology or attention. You've grown into someone who doesn't measure their worth by being chosen. Because you finally understand. Peace is the ultimate comeback. Not revenge, not getting even, just peace. Because nothing disrupts a person's comfort like realizing the one they once broke now lives unbothered, untouchable, and completely whole. And when they see that version of you, calm, confident, no longer waiting, it hits them. They finally understand what they lost. But by then, it's too late, because the version of you that once waited no longer exists. And the version that replaced it doesn't wait for anyone. So when they return, and they will, remember this. You don't owe them access just because they finally woke up. Let them feel the distance they created. Let them taste the silence they once ignored. Because sometimes the best way to show someone your worth is to live like they never defined it in the first place. And that, my friends, brings it full circle. The moment you stop waiting, everything that once slipped through your hands starts finding its way back. Not because they changed, but because you did. You stopped chasing, you started growing, and now your peace speaks louder than your pain ever could. Remember this truth. Detachment isn't losing love, it's gaining yourself. If this message hit your soul, show some love. Press that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stoic wisdom. Stay grounded, stay calm, and never forget, your peace is power.